Hello, lovely people. Alex White here, coming from Raven's Nest down in Venus Bay, and today chatting with Frank van der Ven. Welcome back, Frank.
Hello, Alex. How are you going?
I am very well, coming off a lot of movement, and really excited for you to be back at Raven's Nest in Feb.
Same.
Yeah, yeah, it's lovely having guests come back. I think both the familiarity with the land that you have, and perhaps some of the other
Yeah.
participants, and start, just using as much of the space as possible, both on the property, outside the property. I know last year you took us back to some fantastic walks in the national park. Some of my
Mm.
favorite moments were one of your exercises where we sort of come out from a center and go and do some magical things in the forest. So thank you very much for that.
Mm. Welcome. Yeah.
I think returning from Europe this year, doing a lot of movement, I've had a lot of questions, comments from people around some changes to my own body and how I'm seeing Buto and movement in general. And every time I mention Buto, body weather tends to come up as a alternative route. Maybe you can explain more
Yeah.
about that in a second. But I did want to get to some crux around what is your version of body weather. You're presenting this body landscape. Dates are January 31st through to Feb 2nd.
Yeah.
Uh, what is body landscape to you if you were just during doing the normal elevator pitch on it? Uh,
Yeah. I think first we have to talk about body weather, which is an approach to movement and dance, coming from Mintanaka in Japan, where I lived for 10 years and was part of the company. And it's like an open exploration of, having a creative relation with self and with body and movement. And it kind of looks a little bit, and then I really dive into the difference between body weather and Buto, but which is a big subject, I know. But body weather is a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of movement. What is there to be found in our bodies before we even use it for expression. So it's just taking a step back and okay, before we actually try to say something or convey something, what's going on, what's how my mind relates to my body, how my different body parts relate to one another, how do I relate to a space, and then the body and the weather. The weather, I explained it elsewhere, um, but the weather is a very interesting concept to think about in terms of body and in terms of movement, because just a few examples, weather is all pervasive, but it's also always very specific. There's always some weather going on, and it's always very detailed, and it's made up of many details. And there's a different weather close to the ground and in the cosmos, and so body weather and different temperatures and atmospheres, and that's one thing. And the other big thing I think for weather and bodies is that weather is always changing, and we like to think as well that bodies are always changing. So that it comes, and that brings with it a little bit of a questioning attitude. So, okay, if it's always changing, then how am I at a particular moment? It's also a little encouragement not to take things too much for granted, but have a bit of an inquisitive look and how am I feeling? What's going on? And that, as an individual body, but also in relationship with others, why you feel this way while we do the same thing, but you feel very different than I do. And then we take all those things about bodies and movement into how we relate to an environment, which could be a studio space, but also, of course, if you go to the rich environment of nature, for example, your place, then it just exponentially grows into, yeah, it goes into many different areas. So, when I want to propose what I'm proposing in those 3 4 days, it's always very clearly framed tasks to do. And within that, I hope people can really find the freedom to explore them in their own way. And we're not all doing the tasks are the same for everyone. So that's just kind of clear then. And so that within the task, we can be free to explore in our own way, and then report it back to a partner and talk about, differences in experience and why that actually happens.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily say that it's very skillfully done over the few days to work up to a space where we are feeling very free in our bodies. We're aware
Mm.
more of how it works, at least, and then to take that to someone, and be seen,
Yeah,
is quite amazing.
yeah.
So I wonder if we could talk about briefly there. I could say from my experience, perhaps in the
Mm.
Buddha part of my movement is, especially coming back from Europe where we were to perform at the end of 2 weeks, there was a lot
Yeah,
of focus and a lot of our attention was taken away because we were going to be on stage and doing
yeah,
these performances and who's going to be where and do I get
yeah,
enough stage time, all that stuff. What I
yeah,
like when you explained the sort of mechanics, the nuts and bolts of our body, that body weather
yeah,
provides, there is this importance still of being seen.
yeah,
It could be in the bush with one person, and often
yeah.
with your work it is, and that it's quite magical. Can you perhaps go into a little bit more of why that is so useful, and how you work with
Yeah. You know, usually if I work in a studio, my workshops are called body weather. If I work in outdoors, they're called body landscape. And then within body weather, I often have different modules. One is improvisation, or one could be working with images. Or another one is strands of movement and language, or actually, an improvised speaking and uttering and an improvised movement are being brought together in specific ways. And another module I do sometimes is called seen and being seen. And this is not so much about the performative aspect, but again, a little step back, what's happening before that. And then I think that, we really need the eyes of our colleagues before the eyes of the audience. We need the eyes of our colleagues to actually get a better grip on what it is that we're doing. I think our colleagues really help us in this little chat, and I watch you doing something, and you watch me doing something, and then we exchange our experience of viewing. And I really need your eyes on me to become aware of my habits and patterns. And because when you are deeply involved in movement, there's only so much you can notice. Of course, you notice a lot, but from an outside point of view, um, yeah, that external gaze is really important to get to know oneself and to get to know one's movement and movement patterns. And it's just the first little step to be able to step out a little bit of your box. And again, I always have to um, emphasize that it's not because the box is not good, because your movement can be. It's not about that, but it is about being invited, if you so want, in stepping in a little bit beyond the normal limits or the normal habits and patterns, because there's so much more around it. There's so much more to be discovered in improvisation or in set tasks if you become aware of your movement habits and patterns. And the big question is, how can you be continually fresh in the body that you live in all your life? It's a big. We can take this into a big ontological question, but even on a small little question thing, it's also very valid. So that seen and being seen um, is it's an important. Observing each other and giving feedback is an important part of body weather. And moreover, I think it works both ways. Sometimes you can see something happening in your partner's body that you then subsequently recognize in your own, or you have some type of a realization in your own body that then I can start to look on, oh, how is that in my partner's body? Yeah. And then what we learned from that exchange, then I can take that the next round of work with another partner, and accumulatively get many views on my movement or on my work. And then I think then yeah, the knowledge and insight really start to sparkle around in a group, and it kind of raises the level of awareness. And so my task as a facilitator is of course is leading people into clear tasks and a clear frame, but also making sure that the connection between people start to happen, and facilitating that, which is as valid as, from teacher to student, but also amongst people, because that's a big pool of knowledge and insight and experience that, if you can tap into that, then we're talking.
Absolutely. And I'm now remembering your last retreat a lot more because it was moving beyond being seen. Actually, for me, it was, especially when you were working with us in the national park, we would go off and give each other small gifts, not necessarily physical gifts. We would be, performing in a very intimate way. It's like, hey, please come into my world for a moment. I'm going to show you something. I don't know what it is, but here's a gift. And I think in that offering, there's so much magic in there, and it's very freely given, as opposed to a performance, which it feels like a bit of an exchange or a trade nearly. This is a gift. And I really, actually, now I'm getting quite excited about doing this again, because I've got some new understanding around that. And I feel it adds to people's, I think for people who already have maybe a lot of experience in being on stage or dancing or whatever it might be, it feels like body weather, as you keep reiterating, it is a step back and a re-look at what's available.
Yeah, definitely is.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of fun, a lot to look forward to. I mean, look, if people have listened to this point, they're doing pretty well given our ADD culture that's going on at the moment. Let me quickly mention some dates, and then we can perhaps round off with a final idea or question. So we're officially working together from the Friday, the 31st of January, this is 2025, through to Sunday, the 2nd. They're the full days, but in order to make them full days, you're inviting people to come on the Thursday night, drop in, get themselves set up, and then start bright and early on the Friday. And then likewise at the end, for a little bit of integration and a soft exit, people are invited to stay through to the Monday morning and move on their way if that's available to them. There'll obviously be a bunch more details up or above or beside this video for people to click on. Is there anything particularly you'd like to finish up on? What are your fresh
sorry, say that again.
I'm just wondering whether you have any fresh experiences for us. It's been a while since you and I have talked. I'm sure there's plenty going
on. I just wanted to mention, if people want to know a little bit more about the history of body weather, there is the Improvisers podcast that Kevin James is doing. Improvisers podcast. I think I'm episode 14, but you'll find it when.
We'll link to that as well.
And then I'm just going to wait who's signing up for the 3 days. By the way, last year we did sell out, and I had to say no to a few people. So don't wait too long if people are interested. But if I would see that quite a few people are coming back, then I would really go back to my notes and see what did we do last year, make sure there is partly a different way, because as I have mentioned before, bodywear is such a wide toolbox, and body and landscape are two big entities, and I'm really not proposing one definite relation between body and landscape. Bodies is not one thing, it's really complex, and so a landscape. So I always advocate looking for multiple relationships and multiple new relationships. So even if people coming back, and people who've worked with me regularly, they know there's so much different things that we can do. I run retreats of 2 weeks as well as 2 days. So I don't know yet what we will do, because it's still a few months away, but there will be a lot of new things for even participants who worked a lot with me.
Yeah, look, and honestly, if you ran the same thing again, I would jump in. I very much enjoyed the format of it, and it's more about the people who you're working with as well. You're working with different partners who may or may not have experience, and even if there is someone working on you that hasn't done it before, it forces you, it invites you to get into something
exactly new. It is a big point. I really think deeply that body weather is for and body weather and body landscape thrives on a group of multiple experience people with multiple backgrounds and experiences, because me as a seasoned body worker, if I get to work with somebody who is a little bit unsure, a little bit seeking, or that quality of touch, or if it will be in a touching thing, or that quality of looking, the kind of innocence, or it's something that I really don't have. So we really think that working with different experiences, and then fine tuning yourself in a way that you receive differently from people with less experience, is a very valuable thing, and also a strong skill to be learned on top of your already existing skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love fresh looks at what we're doing here, and also people from different expertise.
Yes.
We've had all sorts of people at Raven's Nest over the years, and whether they're AI professors or psychologists or whatever, they're all bringing something radically different. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have your group on the property. It'll be the first official event for 2025. One thing I can say, I don't know whether you know this, Frank, is there's a brand new sauna installed by then. So that's one thing that will definitely be new on the schedule.
Oh,
If
beautiful.
wanting to jump in. Yeah. So
A
even
brand new what?
a big one,
A brand new what?
brand new sauna.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll be
Wow.
working as hard as you normally do, but we'll be able to jump in the sauna afterwards and
My
get ready
goodness.
for the next day.
Oh God, good on you.
Yeah. Have to take care of you guys.
Yes, no, you're doing very well. I mean, I really loved the days last year,
Hmm.
or it was beginning of this year. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So I'm really thrilled to come back.
Yeah, well, thank you, Frank.
We,
It's really lovely to start building
yes,
relationships with people, and it's so much easier on everything. My
yeah,
system, the land, your system, and to invite people into a place that's reasonably known, so that we can then find the unknown things. I
yes.
think it's. I feel a
Beautiful.
lot more relaxed
Hmm,
with that being the
good on
case.
you.
Not that it's all about me, but I hope that translates to you as well. I certainly feel
Yes,
like you're in a relaxed place. You've gone through a bit of surgery since we last met as well. You have a fresh body.
yes. It's all going well. It's all moving.
Great.
Yeah, recovery was intense but pretty good. Yes,
Excellent. Well, we look forward to all of you arriving
yes.
January, February. As we said, the links will be below this. We'll link off to a little bit of the Body Weather podcast as well. And any details you can shoot straight through to Frank himself. He's more than happy to answer questions.
Yes, if there's any questions, people still want to know more after this talk or after the improvise, then please don't hesitate to contact me. Or if it's about the land and the place, they can contact you.
Yeah, well, I hope, whether it's in what we've actually said or reading between the lines on what you've said today, Frank, I feel really well held by your skill, obviously your decades of
Hmm.
experience in this space, and yeah, stepping back from some of the other movement that we've mentioned feels really relaxing. So
Hmm. Yeah,
I look forward to that. Well, thank you for coming
good.
back. I look forward to introducing you to the sauna, and you'll take it from there.
Good. Thank you, Alex, and see you soon.
See you very soon. Thanks, Frank.